Yo, 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 it is your boy, Nice versus Wild, and you're listening to another episode of Beer Wolf Sessions. Thank you for tuning in. Yet another Monday, yet another week, and you're showing up. I'm so proud of you. I just want to say, before we get into today's session, a big thank you to everybody that's been listening to the last couple sessions. Really resonating. Thank you for all the messages, all the shares. Really helps the sessions to be alive. And also, if you've been enjoying it, make sure you chuck us a review, and hopefully you can get us to the right ears. That right moment, the right step can always make a big impact. So I really appreciate everybody listening every single week. Now, today's session is going to be a bunch of stuff that I wrote in my diary the last couple of weeks, which I haven't had the chance to share because I feel like I haven't been in the right space. And also I've been dealing with a lot of other things in my life at the moment in terms of like the event and that we just finished, the Great South Road Running Festival, and a bunch of other things, and been running around a little bit crazy. So I feel like I can finally share a couple of things that I've been writing in my diary, and hopefully it can make a little bit of an impact towards your own momentum, towards your own craft, towards your own journey, towards your own art, and towards everything that you're pursuing either this week, this month, this year, and hopefully for the rest of your life. So let's get into it. Now, if this is your first time listening, my name is Nigel Shishil. I am a full-time creative entrepreneur from South Auckland. I was born in a rural Fijian village called Lambasa, Bunileka, and my mission in life is to write a story that beats longer than my heart. Now, we're going to talk about the structure that I tend to kind of work on every single time I come up with an idea, or come up with a concept, or come up with a narrative which I'm going to try share and hopefully spark a little bit of a light in your mind. And it's pretty easy. I like to keep it simple because I feel like the more simple you keep it, the easier it's going to be able to come out of your mind and come out into the visual world and be able to sort of extract and be able to articulate your ideas. So my structure at the moment is a statement. After a statement, there's a conflict. On top of the conflict, there might be a hook. And on top of the hook and the conflict, there's a resolution. Pretty simple, right? Statement, conflict, hook, resolution. That's it. And I feel like storytelling is an art. And I wanted to kind of talk about this today because I feel like a lot of times we play our own stories down in our lives, and sometimes we struggle to articulate it. And I feel like everybody's got a story that's worth sharing, and everybody's got a story that can make an impact on the person next to them. And I'm a big believer in the power of love and belonging, and how it's a timeless narrative similar to what we talked about last time that can really resonate with all genres, all belief systems, and all values in this world. And I feel like if you are in a position right now where you're listening to these sessions every single week, and you know deep down that you've got an empowering and positive and change-making story to share with the world, I let this conversation be a sign that this is the time to make the step, make the move, because the most valuable thing is time, and time may be ticking, but I want you to remember that you do have the voice and the power to share it. And I encourage you to follow that framework, right? And if you don't know how to speak, or if you don't know how to write, or if you don't know how to articulate it, just simply find a way where you can create those three simple layout of a statement that you powerfully believe in. Then you come out with a conflict in between that's creating the statement and the resolution, because the conflict is what's going to help your audience to understand why you have this belief. Without a conflict and a hook and an example, you are never going to be able to get to the resolution. And hopefully that makes a little bit of a sense, and I'll try to give you guys an example as we go in this session, and hopefully helps you to align it with your own storyline and your own creative mind that you're developing right now as well. So I wrote that in my diary, and I feel like even for me, I sometimes because I'm super dyslexic at times and my brain just literally goes everywhere. I struggle to articulate the idea in my own head. And obviously these sessions help me, these conversations help me doing keynotes help me putting myself out of uncomfortable positions and being super uncomfortable at most times. Help me to build my own confidence every single day. And I think it's all about practicing, you know. And I was reading this book, I think it was like the 4 Hour Week. It's so famous, like go read it. And it talked about practicing whenever you get an opportunity. And I mean, like, if you go to a cafe, or if you talk to some girl at the cafe, or, you know, like how you can compliment them, or how the art of, like, you know, making somebody feel good, or the art of being able to articulate your idea on a table-to-table conversation, or being able to build a relationship quickly in a sales environment. Like, all of these skills that I feel like a lot of times we take for granted. We have so many opportunities in a day-to-day movement as we go with life, as we build our relationships, as we have conversations that we can practice. And I do this all the time. Literally, if I go to the airport and I'm buying a coffee, I'll practice how this is going to play out. And there's this funny line, and I don't know, this is going to be pretty funny, to be honest, but I encourage you to try it. If you're a dude or if you're a girl and you really like somebody, right, just go up and say something like this: hey, look, I really like you. I'm going to regret not saying this, but can I have your number? And you can give me the wrong number if you're not interested. What you're testing here is your ability and your confidence to articulate the what you're trying to get across, and if you can obtain the outcome. Just practice this. Honestly, like, obviously worst case scenario, you're going to get a no, but it's going to help you to build the confidence to be able to articulate your stories, articulate your confidence to be able to speak up, to be able to, you know, have conversations. And most of the times it's our own belief systems that stop us from creating a story or being able to share our stories and all of those things, you know. And I think if you can do it and practice it and get the rejections, it's really going to help you in all areas of life. And I think it's, I don't know, really crazy example, right? But I feel like, you know, if you can build relationships in real life, you'll be able to build relationships online, and, you know, build your social network, or build your personal brand, or build your business, or build your ideas. And I think there's a lot of value in that. So really, really practice it on a one-on-one basis with, I encourage you to practice it with people that you have obviously met the first time, or that don't personally know you, because this gives you a chance to be out of your comfort zone. If you can practice it in new environments and new circles and new networks, it's going to help you to even be able to build confidence faster. And I think even for me personally, I get nervous all the time. If I'm doing like a keynote, or if I'm talking to a bunch of people on Zoom, or like the nervousness is really good. It just means that you really care about the things that you're talking about. But I also feel like there's a layer of confidence that you can unpeel, even if you don't know a topic too much. But if you can build those structures and those frameworks in your mind, like I talked about, the statement, the conflict, the hook, the example, the resolution, like all of those things, if you can build those frameworks when you speak through the microphone or speak through these like third wall, and I think you can really create and spark influence for the positive, and others to pursue their own things they might be thriving for. So yeah, I wrote that in my diary. Give that a practice. I assure you, who knows, if you're single, try it, man. Could get a number. So other than that, I wrote a couple of things, actually. I saw somebody, obviously we're going to flip the subject here, but the next point on my diary this week, I wrote obviously all the things that it's happening in this world. And this statement really stood out. You don't blow up the whole school to find a school shooter hiding inside. You don't blow up a whole school to find a school shooter hiding inside. So, sorry to flip the whole conversation, but it was literally the next note that I wrote in my diary. And I feel like hopefully you can take away whatever I'm saying and realize that there's a lot of things happening in this world. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons why I need you to raise your voice to bring about positive change, to bring about love, bring about belonging, bring about a stronger belief system that creates togetherness. And I feel like this is why it's so important to be able to share your story and be able to articulate it and be able to build the confidence to create change in communities and environments. Because sometimes people that have a lot of greed or a lot of power at the top forget about the impact they can create on a community at a large scale, and the senseness, the real world problems start to even unravel itself even more. Especially in a world where, like, right now, everything that's happening, like we talked about last week in the Middle East and stuff like that, like, it goes to show that the narrative that gets shown on, mainstream media can be completely different to what's really happening inside in those communities, in those villages, in those circles where, there's so much control and power, where common sense, I feel like, just flies through the window, and we forget that, you don't fight fire with fire. And we somehow, bombing refugee villages, impacting communities of kids and children where they are powerless, and killing innocent people for no reason doesn't get us anywhere. So I want to leave you with this line: you don't blow up a whole school to find a school shooter hiding inside. And I wrote that in my diary, on my phone, in my notes, and I feel like I heard someone say it online and I had to write it. So I think if that can resonate with you today, I know it's pretty deep and it probably might stab the heart, but it's reality. And this is probably one of the biggest reasons why I empower you to raise your voice, raise your story, create your own, empower your own belief systems where it can create positive change and create togetherness. Because one of the biggest reasons, right, why we started the Be a Wolf movement was to empower a whole generation to believe and have self-confidence and have the courage to keep a promise, and not only keep a promise, have the power to create their own story, to empower others to believe in themselves and believe in their abilities, and break negative stereotypes in all communities, and really break those subconscious biases that we might have against other cultures, other religions, other community networks, other belief systems, where we must understand that nobody, like I talked about last week, is born out of a hospital with bad intentions. It's all been taught and learned as we grow up, and it's our education and our learnings that we sometimes might need to unlearn to realize that it's the internal subconscious biases that can create a narrative which we might believe because we've been listening to too many news outlets, or too many media outlets, or too many external sources to create a source in our brain where it's like, hey, shit, I'm getting my right or wrong mixed up here. So I encourage you to have an abundance mindset in everything that you do, and also realize that you do have the power to raise your voice. And I know you've got good intentions for others. And if you're ever in doubt, like we talked about, follow the number one rule of love towards everybody. Now, the second point in my diary is more business related. Let's go back to what I was talking about before. I wrote down, if you're not top of mind, you're out of mind. This can relate back to the storytelling concept I was talking about. If you're a business owner or a creative listening to this every single week, one of the biggest learnings that I've had over the last decade, being a part-time entrepreneur, being a full-time entrepreneur, being a wannabe entrepreneur, is understanding that if I'm not top of mind, I'm out of mind, literally. So you need to create awareness where you're creating a business, an idea, a creative movement, whatever it is you're doing. How do you be top of mind in your craft? Now, it doesn't have to be just on social. It can also be in real life and interactions, how you can build connections and relationships and build your own ecosystem. And I think there's a lot of value in building your own marketplace and your own ecosystem. And every single day I try to do that. I try not to rely too much on external sources, external outlets. I try to create my own internal movement where I can create a magnet towards the people that might resonate, or the people who's like, man, this guy's all shit, like it doesn't really matter. They just might not be my people right now. I just haven't convinced them. So it just goes to show that you can control the movement and you can control your own marketplace. You just have to be able to create awareness to be top of mind, or you're out of mind. Hopefully that obviously was a light bulb moment. That was a light bulb moment, surely, for you. So hopefully you get something out of that. Now, the fourth point I kind of made in my diary this week, I don't even know what number we're on, but the fourth point we made is, I think we talked about this last week already, but when in doubt, follow love. I think we talked about that already. We talked about that. There's this whole concept about the hourglass model. And I think it relates back to the storytelling model as well that we talked about and the framework. So the hourglass model is changing, right? Obviously, there was a bunch of things that I talked about in terms of like creating outlets and business and all of that stuff, right? But I feel like there's also the models changing in sort of 2000. We're in 2023, but I feel like the model's changing. So there's this thing I read online. The hourglass model now is awareness, interest, consideration, intent, evaluation, purchase, adoption, retention, expansion, advocacy. Man, that sounds pretty long, eh? I feel like we're gonna have to do a whole session on this to be able to understand it. But I feel like there's a lot to unpack here, and I think awareness goes back to like what I talked about before. If you're not top of mind, you're out of mind. So no one's gonna care. And but yeah, if you can think about awareness, interest, consideration, intent, evaluation, purchase, adoption, retention, expansion, and advocacy in your customer journey, in your business journey, in your creative art journey, in your entrepreneurial journey, everything is in the same model. If you can make it consistently in a process and a framework and build a system that can help you and leverage your own time in succeeding on a day-to-day basis and creating goals that aren't just monthly, daily, or hourly, but when you're creating goals that are like 2-3 years, 4-5 years, or in decades, you're just going to outlast everybody. And your frameworks and your systems are just going to improve over and over again. I just don't want to mix too much concepts up in this session, but I feel like we'll do a full session on that, to be honest. And I feel like that's it for this week, to be honest. I feel like I kind of mixed up the session, went from real storytelling to like real deep examples to like telling you to literally, you do have a voice. And hopefully that sparked a little bit of a light and keeps you going this week, keeps you going for the rest of the year, keeps you going for the next decade. So let me do a quick recap, all right? So we talked about the the framework that I kind of use for storytelling on most occasions, just to keep it simple: statement, conflict, hook, example, resolution, kind of like the demo that we play with. You don't always have to give an example, but it's always good to, because you can help people personally relate to your story. I talked about an example: you don't blow up a whole school to find a school shooter that's hiding inside. I just wanted to really give you guys some realization moments why it's so important to be able to tell a story, because there's people out there where their ideologies and their narratives just completely don't make sense. The values of love just somehow just disappear. So it's important for you to have the courage to be able to speak up and talk about the things that you truly care about with heart, intention, and empathy and understanding for all cultures, all belief systems, and come out into your community with impact that you can be a business model. And you can be a businessman with a good heart. You can be an entrepreneur with a good heart. You can be a wolf with a good heart. Just because the big bad wolf hurt Little Red Riding Hood doesn't mean that all wolves are bad. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, if you're not top of mind, you're out of mind. And make sure whenever you're in doubt, you follow love. So that's a quick recap. Hopefully you enjoyed this week's session. 20 minutes. Pure magic. If you've been enjoying these sessions, please make sure chuck us a review. Really helps us to get to the right ears. If you feel like there's someone in your environment, in your friends group, in your community that's struggling, share this episode with them. Obviously, it's all a learning game. I feel like I'm still fucking up in these sessions, but we're going to keep the storyline, the framework, everything just needs to keep improving. We just need to keep showing up, and I need you to keep showing up, because remember, I'm in this journey with you. I'm nowhere near far away or at the bottom or in the middle. I'm with you every step of the way, because I'm not running against you. I'm not running behind you. I'm running with you. All right? Just remember that. Keep being a wolf. Keep going, and I will see you next Monday. Man, that was a heck of a session. Keep being a wolf. Let's go. Peace and love.